StraightallDay.com.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all of this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves all of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is every process has a price. Now, before we get into this, let me tell everybody I have a daily motivation text that I send out free of charge every single day to everyone who is in my texting community. This message is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. If you would like to receive this message free of charge, as I said, straight to your phone every single day, all you got to do is send me a message at my number. Here's the number: 305-384-6894. And every single day when I send out the daily motivation text, because you are in my texting community, you will be receiving that message. So you should be taking care of that right now as I am talking. And let's get into what this topic is actually about. Now, the concept that I'm sharing here is that everything you do, or every process that you follow, whether you follow it intentionally or not, has a cost that you will pay. All right? Not that you might pay, that you will pay. The only questions are how much are you going to pay and when are you going to pay, not if you're going to pay. All right, even a lack of process, by the way, which we can call just being reckless. You're just doing stuff with no process, or you can call it random, but sometimes random can turn into reckless, it depending on what process you are missing. That is a process in itself, right? So, and we're going to get into you understanding that. Having no process is a process, okay? So let's talk about why every process has a price, and you just deciding what price you're going to pay based on your chosen process. And I talked about in episode number 2174 that there are no perfect scenarios, there are only trade-offs. So what everybody here needs to emotionally accept is that no matter what you choose to do in life, in any area, we could be talking work, personal, or anywhere in between, there's a price you have to pay for every choice that you make. There is no perfect outcome. So when you're looking at, you know how the saying is, people think the grass is greener on the other side, and some people say, well, the grass is greener where the grass is getting watered. Understand that even though somebody else's situation may look favorable compared to what you're seeing in your situation right now, understand that that person has to pay a price for their process the same way you're paying a price for yours. You just may not be aware of the price that they're paying. Maybe they are not paying the price at the moment that you see them, but there is a price that either is being paid, was paid, or will be paid. And in your situation is the exact same thing. And the thing is, and this is something that you may hear people say when they're talking about social media, you see the full coverage of everything that's happening in your life, but with other people, you only see the highlights. You only see the stuff that looks like it's favorable compared to where you're at, but it may not be if you were to get up close and personal. So don't be so quick to look at somebody else's situation and think that it's easier, quote unquote, for them. It may be just as hard for them as it is for you. You're just not aware of how hard it is for them or why it is as hard as it is. So let's get into it. Point number one. Topic once again is every process has a price. Being disciplined has a price. All right, we talked about this in my book, The Third Day, which you see right over my right shoulder right here. If you haven't gotten your free copy of that book, you can get it by going to thirddaybook.com. The book is free. All you're going to do is cover the shipping. Again, that's thirddaybook.com. And the third day is that this idea of understanding that no matter what you do in life, there's going to come a time when you realize that it's not all fun and games. It's not all going to be one big party, and there's going to be some actual work that needs to be done. And in that moment, you get to decide, are you going to show up all the way as a professional, or are you going to kind of beg off the job, give a half-ass effort, or just straight up quit? And a lot of people choose the latter, just quitting, giving a half-ass job, or just begging off the job because they don't want to do the hard work that comes with it, even though everybody wants the outcome, right? Everybody wants the result, but nobody wants to do the work. So the price of being disciplined is what we talked about in episode 2013. You have to do the same things the same way every time. Sometimes being disciplined means doing stuff that you do not feel like doing. You have to work when you don't feel like working. Sometimes you got to deny things that your flesh is telling you that it wants. Sometimes you have to tell your feelings how to feel when you don't really want to move yourself to action. And sometimes, on the other hand, you got to stop yourself from taking an action when you want to, because discipline says you're not supposed to be doing anything right now. If you have ever tried to become disciplined at something that you were previously undisciplined at, or there was no discipline to speak of, you understand everything that I'm saying here. If you're a person who has eaten recklessly and without a plan or structure, and then your health and your weight got somewhere that you didn't want it to be, and then you realize, okay, well, I can fix this. I just need to be more disciplined about how I eat. You know that installing that discipline is not as easy as talking about it, right? And once you start doing it, you realize, okay, this is a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. But you understand there's a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, but you got to run through that rainbow to get it, if you get what I'm saying. So any of us who's ever tried to instill discipline in anything, any of you try to do something like start a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel, you're going to just start putting out content consistently because you see the opportunities that exist for people who are doing that. But then when you start doing it and you're not getting the results immediately, it's hard to keep yourself going, right? Has anybody ever had that experience? I think all of us have in different spaces. We decide that we're going to have a discipline because we see what the result can be. But then when we get into doing the work, we hit that third day. And sometimes you hit the third day on the first day. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes you hit the third day on the 10th day. So the third day doesn't mean it has to be day 1, 2, 3. The third day can be any moment. Sometimes you hit the third day the first time. All right, and the first time you go do the thing, you're like, oh, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. And you have to accept that this is the price that you got to pay to be disciplined. Understand the challenge that comes with it. There is no situation that doesn't come with a challenge. If you have failed at being disciplined multiple times, even if you succeeded multiple times, you know that it wasn't easy. Either way, it's not going to be easy. So you might as well succeed. This stuff is not supposed to be easy, everybody, but it does get easier as you do it more often, since we are all creatures of habit and our brains are always looking for ways to habitualize our routine actions. So the brain wants to have habits. It wants to have disciplines. It wants to do the same things the same way every time. So if you don't have habits and routines for the things that you want to be good at, understand you're making it harder on yourself, because the brain wants to do things in a routine way. All right, this is the way human beings were creatures of habit. We want habits. So you're making things harder if you don't have these processes in place. So you need to get more intentional and conscious about getting those habits in place for anything that you want to be good at, because you're going to pay a price either way. Now, you can pay the price of failure, you can pay the price of success, but either way you pay. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is every process has a price. Number 2, being undisciplined and not having a process, guess what? That also has a price. Now, you got to pay for that too. The price of not having discipline and not having a process is the randomness that results from your lack of standard routines and habits. So we talked about this in the episode where I talked about the inverse of insanity, and that was episode number 1931. So some of you may have heard the saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting a different result. The inverse of that is doing different things every time, but expecting the same results. So if you're undisciplined and you don't have processes, here's the price you got to pay, is that your results are going to be random and unpredictable. Meaning you're not going to know what to expect from yourself. Therefore, you can't trust yourself. And it's hard to make plans around something that's so random. Other people will not know what to expect from you. Therefore, they can't trust you as much. And therefore, they probably won't be willing to pay you because they don't know what they're going to get from you. Nobody pays for a mixed bag. Nobody pays for randomness. So without those standard routines and habits, your randomness and your variety, if you want to call it that, has a cost. All right, this is the price that you pay. And you may not realize it until it's much later in the game. That's what the inverse of insanity. So episode 1931, for those of you who haven't listened to that episode. So the price you pay for not having a clean, consistent, and an intentional process is that you cannot predict your results, and you don't know what you're going to get, and other people won't know either. And again, when they don't know, they're not willing to give you what you want. All right, would you pay somebody if you don't know exactly what you're going to get from them? If you can't predict their actions and you can't predict the outcomes that they're going to produce, would you pay for that as a consumer? All right, those of you who are consumers, would you pay for that? If you buy a pizza, there's a pizza shop that you like to get your pizza from, but or that you want to get pizza from, but every time you get a pizza there is different. Sometimes it's done the way it's supposed to, then the next time they got it wrong, they put the wrong topping on it, then the next time the pizza's undercooked, the next time they forgot your order, you get there and they didn't realize you had placed an order, the next time it's something else, and the next time it's something, and every time it's something different. What happens? Eventually you just say, you know what, I'm just not going to order from this place anymore. And then you go find an alternative, and you always have alternatives. Consumers always have alternatives. So all you business people out there, if your process is not consistent and people don't know what they're going to get from you, understand that your customers and clients do have other options. You may not think they do, but they do. And they will find them if you prove to be inconsistent and thusly unworthy of their money. So keep that in mind when you're running your business. This actually just happened. Something just happened to me the other day, maybe 2 days ago. I told y'all I was talking, I don't remember what episode it was where I was talking about this. Let me see if I can find the episode. There was an episode where I was talking about how when you're running your organization, you got to make sure that things are done consistently, and how people had to be doing things the way they're supposed to be doing them. I think it might have been episode 2310 where I said unenforced rules are merely suggestions, but I've talked about this more than once. And I was telling the story how I went to this local grocery store down here in South Florida called Publix, and I had ordered a sandwich and they didn't even notice that I ordered the sandwich, and then the woman was kind of rude about it, and I'm like these people are acting like they're doing me a favor by doing their jobs as if I don't have more options than they do. And I still would order sandwiches from there because I liked their sandwiches, but then 2 days ago I ordered again. I get there, and again they hadn't noticed that there were online orders that they hadn't taken care of. It was like 4 of them in front of me, online orders that they hadn't seen. So I walked up and there was a woman there, and she's relatively nice. I mean, she's nice enough. And I told her I was picking up an online order, and I could see the look on her face like, damn, we didn't even check the online orders. And she reached down for the receipts, and it was like 4 of them. And then she went and told her coworker, and they're rushing to make the sandwiches. And then they made my sandwich with the wrong bread. They used the wrong bread for the sandwich. And I remember finishing the sandwich and saying to myself, let me just stop ordering from these people, because they keep making these same mistakes over and over again because their process is not clean. I mean, they know how to make the sandwiches, but their process is not clean in that they have online orders and not even noticing that somebody ordered online. I mean, this is where a lot of their orders come from. Y'all not even looking. And then when they do look, they're not even doing it the right way. And this is a process thing. There's nothing wrong with well, there are some people there who actually shouldn't be working there. They don't have the right attitudes. But these people on this particular day, it wasn't the people that was the issue. It was the process that was the issue. And other time it was the process and the people. But usually when things are not going the right way in business, usually it's something up with the process, because I'm going to assume that all of you professionals are, you have positive intentions with how you're operating your business, and you're good at choosing the right people. So if things are not going right, then something in the process needs to be addressed. It's usually not the people themselves, unless the person we're talking about is you. All right, moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is every process has a price. Number 3, the good news about paying a price for anything is that there is usually a payoff on the other side, and that's usually the only reason why we pay a price, right? The only reason you pay a price is because you're going to get something back on the other side of it, right? So when you go to the mall or the grocery store and you buy something, usually you get something back in exchange, right? Isn't that the whole point of going to the mall or the grocery store? You're going to get something, right? So which goods and services, so to speak, would you rather purchase? Would you rather purchase the goods and services that come from the discipline of following a disciplined process, or do you want to buy the goods and services that come from not having a process and not being disciplined? Because either way, you're going to pay. Remember our 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, and focus. All right? Even if you try not to, you are paying those things. You are paying with your time every second. All right, so right now, according to my recorder here, I've been talking for 13 minutes and 49 seconds, not including the intros and all that stuff. So you're listening to me with a payment of your time. Money. All right, it costs money for you to be born when you were born, and when you die, somebody's gonna have to pay for you to get buried. All right, so it costs money to be born, costs money to die, and in between, if you have food, clothing, shelter, none of those are free. Last time that I checked, so you're paying for that, or somebody's paying for it in some form. So you're paying money. Attention. All right, you're going to give your attention to something. Energy is 85% of the job. If you have the ability to stand up and walk and talk and blink and breathe, you are utilizing energy in a mechanical, scientific context. And focus. What are you focusing on? What are you paying attention to? Many people are not very good at focus and not good at maintaining focus, but it's there. You're either using it or losing it one way or another. So either way, as I just said, the 5 forms of investment, you are paying one way or another. All right, the question is, what do you want to pay for, and what do you want to get back? The good news is, as a consumer, you have a choice. All right, people don't just come to you, take money out of your pocket and say, all right, you're buying this and here's the product that you just paid for. That usually doesn't happen, right? You would call that robbery. You call the cops if somebody did that to you. You have a choice with your investments. What are you going to pay for? And what do you want to get in exchange for the payments that you're making? This is a conscious and intentional choice that you get to make. Unfortunately, many of you are not making this consciously and intentionally. You're making a transaction, but you don't even realize that you're making a transaction. So my job, one of my reasons for existing here and talking about the things that I talk about, is to make you conscious and get you to be intentional about the stuff that we talk about here. 'Cause I know that sometimes I bring up a subject that you may feel like you quote unquote already know. You already have some idea about it, or sometimes people reach out to me and say, well, I like what you said on the show because it was a good reminder of whatever the topic, whatever it was that I'm talking about. Well, my job here is not to just remind you of topics, it's to give you some insight and perspective that you hadn't thought of so that you can take some different actions and actually do something with these things that I'm talking about. Because every process having a price isn't it didn't just start existing today because I said it, but you've been paying a price and you may not even be aware of it. In other words, you're not accounting for the price that you're paying. What I'm trying to help you do is get intentional about accounting for the price that you're paying for whatever processes you have in place or do not have in place in your life right now. That's my gig. That's my deal here today. So if you hadn't thought about it in that way, that's what I'm here for. All right, that's my purpose, and that's what I do every single episode of this show. So if this is your first ever episode that you're listening to, subscribe to this show and listen to all the episodes, because I do this in every single episode. And as a matter of fact, while you're waiting for tomorrow's episode, what you should do is go back into the archives and listen to the other episodes that I put out, because I put out over 2,300. Let me see what episode this is that we're doing here today. I have put out over 2,300. We're close to 2,400 episodes of this show right here, and every one of them is like this. Okay, I'm not joking. Ask one of your friends. They'll tell you every one of them is like this. All right, that's why you came across this show the day that you did. So you can answer this question. The question was, what price do you want to pay? You can answer this question now if you want, but it doesn't matter if you answer or not. You don't have to answer the question at all, because either way, you're buying. All right, you're buying something. It's just a question of what result are you buying. The purpose of this masterclass today is to make you aware of the fact that you're buying something. And then once you become aware of the fact that you're buying something, now you have power to do something intentional about it. All right. That is one of the main things that I do here on the show, is take something that, again, you might think you already know, quote unquote, or that you have thought of in the past. And we're going to go a level higher than thinking about things and quote unquote knowing things. If you don't know something until you've done it, you don't really know it until you can teach it. You don't really know it until you can sell it. All right, that's the levels of expertise. I did a whole masterclass on that as well. Let me give you that just in case any of you didn't know. That was episode number 1402, the 5 levels of expertise. Level 1 is just consuming. Level 2 is doing. Level 3 is teaching. Level 4 is selling. And level 5 is when they come to you to buy. All right, level 4 is selling. You go to them. Level 5 is buying. They come to you. So listen to that episode, any of you who wants to understand what are the real levels of knowing something. Just because you heard something on a podcast episode or you read it in a book, you don't know anything. You're at level 1. All right, you have consumed the information. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really mean something really till you get to about level 3 and you can start teaching it to other people. But all that said, that's a different topic for episode 1402, like I just said. Let's recap today's class, which is every process has a price. Concept here is that everything you do, every process, whether intentional or not, has a cost that you're going to pay, whether you like it or not. I'm telling you, just get intentional about what you're going to pay, since you're going to pay it anyway. It's kind of like taxes. You're going to pay it either way. You might as well get intentional about it and try to save yourself some money. Point number 1, being disciplined has a price. You got to do the same things the same way every time. Sometimes you got to do stuff you don't feel like doing. You got to work when you don't feel like working. Sometimes you got to deny stuff that your flesh is telling you that it wants. Sometimes you got to tell your feelings how to feel. All right, this is just the price. This is part of the price. All right, just get choosy about it and be intentional about the price that you're paying instead of letting the price be extracted from you against your will. Point number 2, being undisciplined and having no process, that has a price too. The price is the random results that you produce. The problem with producing random results is that, yes, it may be fun for a while because you got all this variety going on, and variety is one of the human needs. The challenge with having variety is that nobody's going to depend on you. Nobody's going to want to invest in you simply because they don't know what they're going to get. Human beings, we do not pay for randomness. We pay for consistency. We pay for things that we can predict. We pay for things that we can control. We pay for things when we know exactly what we're going to get. Look at your purchasing history and tell me that I'm wrong about that. I know I'm not wrong. Point number 3. Good news about paying a price, since you're going to pay anyway, is that there's usually a payoff on the other side. Just like when you go to the store and buy something and you give money to the cash register or to the clerk at the checkout counter, usually you give them money not out of the kindness of your heart. It's not a charitable donation, right? You give them money because they're giving you something. You give them money, they give you the pair of shoes. You give them money, they give you the groceries. You give them money, they'll let your phone keep working. All right, so we're getting something in exchange. What I'm telling you is to choose intentionally what you are paying for. Same thing you do as a consumer. You won't let somebody just take your money and not give you something back in exchange, or not give you the thing that you paid for, right? If you buy a book from me, if you order the third day from me and I send you the overseas basketball blueprint, you're probably gonna email me like, hey Dre, thanks for the book, but I didn't order this one or the other one, and you're gonna want to get that fixed, right? It's the same thing you need to do yourself with the payments that you're making every day. Make sure that you get what you actually want when you're making these payments, because you are going to make the payments anyway. So get intentional about this, and you need to start getting intentional right now, because again, the bill is coming due whether you do something or not. All that said, text me to get my daily motivation message straight to your phone, free of charge every day. My number is 305-384-6894. And then go to workonyourgame.net. All you six-figure revenue generators right now, you want to get to that next level. You understand as well as I do, and I will help you understand it even better, that whatever you have done to get to this level, you can't keep doing the same process to get to the next level. You know that. You already know that, because what you're doing right now, you're already maxed out. So you can't do any more than what you're already doing. So how do you get to the next level? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you the 5 things that the people at the next level are doing that you are not doing, and I'll tell you for free. So just go to workonyourgame.net. The free training is free. Again, that's workonyourgame.net. Work on your game. Dre, all